Hey everyone, I'm rather incoherent. Rotation is right around the corner. Festival of Legends is going to drop, old expansions are rotating out, new cards are coming into the core set, and I want to talk about all the things that are changing for Rogue, how their meta decks are likely to evolve, what new decks we'll probably see out of these new cards, and how I think the class is going to be doing generally. First, let's get started with the new cards in Festival of Legends. And honestly, this is one of the few times where I don't know how a deck's going to look because I'm like a kid in a candy shop with Miracle Rogue, and there's next to no support for anything but Miracle Rogue. So if you're a Rogue enjoyer who's not looking for a Miracle deck, this might not be a super pleasant expansion for you. So first, I'll cover the cards that are decidedly not related to Miracle. We have MC Blingtron. This card is Spider Tank plus Dagger. For 5 mana, that's the exact rate you would pay for 2 things that you don't want to do. So the entirety of whether or not this card is good comes down to this part here. Your opponent's 1/2 microphone, because they get 1 as well, increases all damage they take by 1. Is that good? How much do you value that effect? Because you don't want the other parts of this. The other parts of this are absolutely not helpful. It's also weapon destruction. This is actually a much better card if something like Warrior or Shaman were in the meta with a big expensive weapon where destroying it was good. For instance, if Karadol was in the game and Control Paladin were still a thing, then this would be great for killing the immovable object, but that's not a thing. At least not in Standard, right? I think with the weapons in the field, the weapon destruction tech is probably not going to be super valuable on Blingtron. I do think that for most decks, you could probably look at Blingtron as giving you around a fireball to the face. I think that's a reasonable expectation. I think in Wild it's better. I think in Wild dealing a bunch of little chip is probably easier. I think in Standard this is just fine. I think there are so many cards fighting for slots in Miracle Rogue that just Blingtron will never make the cut. You can make a 40 card Renathal Miracle Rogue and still not feel like Blingtron is even close to making the cut. And as to other archetypes, I feel like this is really only valuable if you're playing a pure face deck. And if you're playing a pure face deck, 5 mana marginal burn might not be good enough. It also might be good enough. It's on the periphery of Rogue. It's not a bad card. I just don't think it's good enough to see play. Mic Drop is a wonderful example of what I just said. 3 mana, spell, draw 2 cards, finale, give your weapon +2 attack. So Arcane Intellect, potentially with Deadly Poison for free, if you spend the last of your mana on this, which really shouldn't be too hard. I generally think finale is an easy keyword to trigger. It only really comes in negatively if you're getting a finale effect that you want to do at the start of your turn, like drawing cards for instance. If you're getting a finale effect that doesn't care when it comes into your turn, it's just upside. I don't view it as hard to trigger whatsoever. It's wild to me that I look at Mic Drop and I don't think the card's that good. Rogue just has other ways to draw cards. It's not run Deadly Poison for a long time. Mic Drop's fine. You could put Mic Drop in your deck and it wouldn't be bad. But I don't look at this and think, oh yeah, this is obviously good for X reason. In an aggro deck, you don't want to spend 3 mana not hitting your opponent in the face. And it's fine. I don't have any strong opinions about it, like Blingtron. It's fine. We'll get into strong opinions shortly. I think Mixtape is a really appropriate card thematically. 1 mana Mixtape, discover a copy of a card your opponent played this game. The reason I like this is that Mixtapes are sort of fundamentally nostalgic. Anyone who has any current Mixtape is remembering a time that's gone by, right? Just like this is remembering how Thief Rogue is dead, because that deck lost its core card. Contraband Stash is out, Mixtape isn't getting played. I don't know why this got printed. This is just like a nod to like, hey, remember that archetype we killed? And even in that archetype, I don't think Mixtape was that good. Like, I just don't know why this is a card. It makes me sad. And like most of the Harmonic cards, Harmonic Hip Hop, the 2 mana shadow spell, isn't great. Deal 1 damage, give your weapon +3 attack, or invert it, deal 3 damage, give your weapon +1 attack. Generally speaking, giving your weapon more attacks is subjectively better because you get to use it twice because your weapon has 2 durability at least. But neither version of this is great. It is Rogue Burn, I can imagine this fitting into a deck, but there are so many tools for the throw big minions on the board style of Rogue, and so few tools for Burn Rogue. Like, Burn Rogue might be a thing. With Mic Drop and Harmonic Hip Hop, there might be enough tools for much more aggressive Rogue decks to start kind of getting into the periphery. But even so, they don't strike me as particularly impressive. I don't think there are enough tools to be doing it just yet. So let's get into the 2 different breeds of Miracle Rogue that you can have. There's going to be a more combo-heavy Miracle Rogue. There's going to be a more traditional Miracle Rogue that does basically what it did in the past. And then there's going to be a third type of Miracle Rogue involving a neutral card. I generally haven't covered neutral cards very much in these videos. I'm going to be doing neutrals on their own at the end of it all. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, if Freebird combo is a combo anywhere, it's in Miracle Rogue. I just don't think it's going to be the best way to build Rogue. And for me personally, I have such a hard time trying to envision what Rogue is going to be the best. There are so many different little things you can change in Miracle Rogue. You're like a kid in a candy shop. It's ridiculous. So I'll show off one Miracle Rogue list. It's probably the most normal one. And because it's so close to a directly upgraded old Miracle Rogue, I think it's probably going to be great, but I don't know how to incorporate a lot of new stuff. This combo stuff, this Freebird stuff, I don't think it quite makes it into the most obvious good Miracle Rogue deck, but I'm really looking forward to seeing people experiment with it and seeing what comes out of all the Miracle Rogue experimentation that will happen with this expansion. Anyway, enough beating around the bush. 3 mana, 2/2 weapon, the Record Scratcher. Death Rattle, refresh a mana crystal. Oh no. And you play combo cards well equipped to improve. So immediately this deck wants to be doing combo spam. It wants this to give more than 1 mana. How much mana can you get? Well, let's talk about Rhyme Spinner. 3 mana, 1/3, rush, combo, gain +1/1 for each other combo card you've played this game. So you can immediately see that when you add Record Scratcher, you don't have to add anything else, but it immediately pressures you to want more combo cards, to want Rhyme Spinner. Because if you're making a deck that reliably gets like +2, +3 on the mana of Record Scratcher, then that's also a deck that's really reliably getting like a 3 mana 5/7 rush minion. That's very strong. And I know those numbers don't line up to 2 or 3 combos, but you're only have the Record Scratcher out for a small period of time, whereas rushes from all game will be affecting the Rhyme Spinner, and that's very important. Rhyme Spinner is a very scary card. And then we have other combo cards to feed into this combo spam. Specifically, we have the Disc Jockey, a 2 mana 4/1 mechanical beast. Combo, add a random combo card to your hand. You want combo? We put some combo in your combo so you can combo while you combo. Is it good? Probably not. I don't think you should be all in on combo to such a degree that you're running, holy shit, Magma Rager, get power crept into oblivion. I didn't realize that. This is essentially 2 mana Magma Rager with combo to get more combo. And like, I still don't think at 2 mana with upside you should be running Magma Rager. There's probably better things you can do. But it showcases the mindset that goes into how you change your Miracle Rogue to get more combos in it. And maybe it will be worth it. Maybe it's so much value for Record Scratcher and Rhyme Spinner that this is worth running. I don't think it is, but it might be. Then we have Beatboxer, 3 mana 4/3 mech, combo, deal 4 damage randomly split among all enemies. It's alright. It doesn't seem great. It can hit face, so it's not reliably board clearing. And it's a 4/3, so it's fairly easy to remove. It's an aggressively statted minion. But I think the decks that are going to be aggressive for Rogue are probably pirate focused. They're probably weapon focused. They're not mech focused. It's like the only Rogue mech, so I don't really see this. This feels like it's not the best minion. It's not the best combo. If you're trying to find an overlap, this still doesn't feel that good. I don't see this, man. I just don't see this being a reason to it. There are plenty of good combo cards in Rogue. It's just not the ones coming out with this expansion, which is probably for the best because Record Scratcher and Rhyme Spinner are genuinely terrifying. Moving on to more generic Miracle stuff, we have Breakdance. It's a 1 mana shadow spell. Return a friendly minion to your hand, summon a dancer with its stats and rush. So instead of 0 mana and a discount, it's 1 mana, but you're getting to allow the body to impact the board by essentially duplicating and giving it rush. This is arguably better than Shadow Step in certain circumstances. They're not mutually exclusive. You can run both, and in fact, you can run more than that. We'll get to bounce around in a hot second. Now, with stuff like the Sandstone Graveyard, this is not that great, because if you put the ghost into your hand, then like you have a 10 mana 15/15. It's not that helpful. It can still be relevant, don't get me wrong, but generally you don't want to be putting the ghost in your hand. You want to be using Breakdance on stuff like Astalor, stuff like Elven Minstrel, stuff like Queen Ashara. Theoretically, you could use it on Necrolord Draka. I don't know how that would ever be the thing you need to do, but Breakdance does sort of tilt you a little bit away from Sandstone Graveyard because of the anti-synergy there. And then we have Bounce Around featuring Garona. 3 mana spell, Shadow Step everything, they all cost 1 this turn. I want to say Bounce Around's an insane card, I really do. But there are so many ways for Rogue to do this thing, and at this point I'm just like, I need to see the deck get played. There's so many little iterations of the deck. I know Miracle Rogue is going to be sick, I know you can really aggressively customize what the list wants to do, but I don't know how to get there. I'm not a Miracle Rogue main, and I look at it and my brain fizzles a little bit, so I don't have much more to say about Bounce Around. Coming over to the core set rotation, you can see that Rogue loses a lot of cards, and none of them saw any competitive play. Coming over to the cards that are rotating in with rotation, they're getting Elven Minstrel back buffed to 3 health, which is a wild card. They're getting Phantom Knives back buffed to 2 mana, which might be playable. They're losing Wicked Stab, but getting Eviscerate to replace it, which with combo synergy is actually just better. And they're getting the Secret package to go with their Castle Nathria secrets, and Shadow Jeweler Hanar to cap off that package, which is a very strong. Thankfully, Paladin Secrets have just rotated. That's a pretty big blow to Shadow Jeweler Hanar's power, but it's still a very strong card, and I expect to see a lot of experimentation coming out of Rogue. I feel like if you want to make a Miracle Rogue list, there is so, holy shit, there is so much room for skill expression and the people that are going to be customizing and testing Miracle Rogue at the start of this expansion. I'm kind of envious. I wish the decks I mained had this much room for experimentation, because I honestly don't remember any time in Hearthstone's history a single archetype has had this much room to change the cards in your deck. And as for buffs, there are no buffs other than these two, so we have nothing to talk about there. And this is the point where we start going through Vicious Syndicate's meta deck list and talking about how we expect them to change. With Ransack Thief Rogue, it's really easy. Contraband Stash is the point of the deck, because it's pretty gross when you cheat out, 14 mana of anti-aggro cards from other classes before turn 7. That's really good. But what makes it actually win games is Contraband Stash repeating that effect and just absolutely breaking your opponent's back. Without Contraband Stash, you just have Test Greymane, and that's not enough duplication. Additionally, Shadowcrafter Scavs very often found time to save your life while you were looking for that Contraband Stash. I think Thief Rogue is just that. Even though they can still discover all the stuff and they can duplicate it once, I don't think the deck works. And really, I hope it doesn't work, because Casino is my least favorite archetype in the game. I don't mind losing to decks I don't like, but what I hate is losing to decks that I cannot play around. If you're just gonna make up the shit in your deck, I can't really do anything about it. I just have to be like, all right, time to go and hope it works. I just hate Casino archetypes, and I'm glad that this one's leaving. Big Mage also getting gutted. Not unhappy about it at all. Glad to see both of them getting tossed in the trash. Coming over to Death Rattle Rogue, they lose Sketchy Information, which is the way they cheat out and accelerate and tutor their game plan of duplicating the shit out of Neptulon and Krakatoa. So even though they have the payoff and the card that enables that payoff, losing Sketchy Information is a massive blow to the deck. They lose other cards as well that are not nearly as core, and overall, I think the deck's not really runnable. It's possible, though, that either later in the year or just right now by me being wrong, Death Rattle Rogue can continue on, but I don't think it has what it takes in the current meta. I do think it has enough of a shell left that we can see Death Rattle Rogue making a comeback at some point. Just not right now. And then we come to Miracle Rogue, currently one of the best decks in the game at High Legend, only losing 3 cards. They are very important 3 cards, but they aren't built around, so the deck will be fine. Edwin Defias Kingpin is out, and Mailbox Dancer is out, and Mailbox Dancer is a huge deal. This guy combined with bounce effects allowed you to get a huge number of cards played in one turn, vastly accelerating just how quickly you can get out a big ghost or a big dagger, and the explosivity and the acceleration of the deck goes down a lot without Mailbox Dancer. It can still be very powerful, but the speed that it pushed to is just gone. Alongside Miracle Rogue, we're also losing Quest Druid, which could ramp up in an OTKU in record time. And with those 2 decks gone, the meta will slow down a lot. Those are the 2 fastest kill decks. Most of the aggro decks aren't crazy effective at running you over, at least in my experience. So I feel like we're going to see a much slower meta. Not like an actually slow meta, let's not get crazy, but a much slower meta than we had previously. The decks are still powerful, but not as fast. And you'll notice that this Miracle version doesn't actually run Astalor. Coming over to the one that I'm going to show off, though, we're running Astalor and we're running Queen Ashara, because 2 of the win conditions of the deck as I'm building this Miracle list are breakdancing these cards. You play Astalor on 10 mana, you breakdance him back, you keep the body, you're threatening another Astalor. And then just the same in other matchups where this is viable, or if you don't have access to Astalor for some reason, you can do the exact same thing, replaying Queen Ashara, keeping the 5/5 over and over again, getting more Colossals and trying to win that way. It's possible that due to Queen Ashara being here and being able to be duplicated, this deck should run tests. And that's what I mean when I say that looking at Rogue right now, it's just wild how much they can do, how much they can customize. I think a build like this that's very similar to the old one We've just added Queen Ashara, Breakdance, and Astalor to replace what's gone. I've also cut Gone Fishing to make room for this. Oh, I forgot to mention, Blackwater Cutlass is going. That's a big card. That's very big. It accelerates the deck by giving you mana cheat. It's good for anti-aggro. It's a good card, and they're losing that as well. And of course, I'm running Bounce Around, because I mean, why wouldn't I be trying that card out? It seems nuts. And all of this ties nicely together with Elven Minstrel, because if you're not running that many minions, draw 2 minions just sort of, you know, it tutors out win conditions. It's an argument against running this package of cards with Ghoulish Alchemist and Putricide, because if you don't run that, Elven Minstrel hits, what, Scribbling Stenographer for crazy tempo, Queen Ashara, the other Elven Minstrel, and Astalor. And that would be it. So there's a very real argument. There's like going to be another miracle list where you cut way down on minions. And it doesn't matter what else you put in anything else, because the important thing is that you can't hit the minions now. And I could show you like 5 more miracle decks that are all meaningfully distinct from this one, and that's crazy. And I'm really hyped to see what Rogue comes up with, and I'm really not hyped to play against them while they're coming up with it. Eventually they will settle on a style of miracle, maybe there'll be a second style of miracle that's a little bit less common. But in the first few weeks, if you see a Rogue, you have no idea what they're doing, just that it's probably very good. Anyways, I'd rather Incoherent. This has been me hyping up Rogue, and very specifically Miracle Rogue, because it just feels insane and nothing else felt like it really got support. If you enjoyed hearing me ramble at this, then please do like, comment, and subscribe. All that stuff really does help the channel grow, and I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.